last time, this is going to be a pretty short one, I think. For this last step, you really just need to kind of check your levels overall and just make sure everything is ready to roll. And so, if you haven't already, spend some time with your mix. Of course, you can automate things, and anything that's automated will have that little red dot next to it. And if you change one of your automation settings like that, like I just pulled this volume up, you can see that the automation dot is now gray, which means that I just turned off that automation that I programmed in on the last video. And so if I change my mind, I need to reactivate that automation. So how to do that is just double click on that little dot there and you'll see re-enable automation, and then it'll turn back on that way. Um, so anything that doesn't have a red dot on it, though, you can do some fine tune mixing on. If it does have a red dot, and like let's say I need to, maybe turn that down in another spot, I can go to that spot on the screen and let's see which, that was this track right here that I did some automation. I can still click on the clip, double click on it, and change the overall volume right here, right? And that's not going to mess with my automation. Those are two separate things. So that's something else that you can do. But end result, we want to be able to hear the dialogue if there is dialogue or those any other sounds that are going on. We want to be able to hear everything that's going on clearly. You want those music to be strong, but not overpowering. So work some time with that mix. But end result is we do need the end need to start looking at our master levels, and the master level is kind of the sum of everything together, what that looks like overall, and kind of our target goal really is for the loudest moments to be just shy of 0, but our overall mix to be hovering right around this 12 mark. That's kind of the sweet spot where sometimes it's a little bit quieter, sometimes a little bit louder, but it kind of that's the home base that it keeps kind of going back to. So the next step that I like to do is use an effect on my master fader that is called a limiter. So come over here and just drag that limiter and just plop it right on the master fader. And then I will actually play my entire trailer from start to finish. And while it's playing, I'm just kind of keeping an eye on that mix right there, right? And like I say, 12 is kind of where I'm searching for the main mix is going to be louder moments, quieter moments. Right now it's going to be quieter because it's the beginning of the trailer, right? So I'm okay if it's kind of hovering down here. But when things get going, later on, like maybe right about here, oops, I'm expecting to be a little bit higher than 12, right? So just kind of looking at the levels there. You want to make sure you're not ever going in the red on any of your tracks. So make sure that none of them are pushing so hot that they're clipping. And same with your master fader. You want to make sure that that's not clipping. But the limiter will really help out with that. That's kind of what its job is to limit how loud it gets volume wise. So let me just kind of show you some of the controls on this. There's the limiter. It's really basic. You've basically got two things that you're going to mess with. There's the ceiling and the gain knob. The ceiling, I generally will keep at that minus 0.3. What that means is it just won't let anything get louder than that. And that just kind of is a good safety precaution so it doesn't go to 0, because that's when the red light comes on. So that's a good thing to just kind of leave there, or if it's set to something different, to change it to negative 0.3. And then what I do is I look at my master fader, and as you play, there's a number right here that will read out, and this will let you know like when was the loudest moment in your trailer. And so you really do have to kind of watch the whole thing to get an accurate number, because you can see how that's kind of changing over time. But if I go to again the loudest spot in my trailer right here,
some problems can't follow you.
You can see like I'm already at 0.3, so that's kind of getting up to the maximum volume there at the end, which is pretty good, right? And so the only thing that I really want to do is maybe kind of squeeze this just a little bit at the end, so that maybe it's not quite so quiet at the beginning and maybe not quite so loud at the end. And so that's what the limiter's for. And I'm just going to add a little bit of gain to it, maybe just 2 decibels. That's going to make that quieter entry a little bit louder. And it won't really greatly affect the end, because the end is going to be running into the ceiling. So it's just going to kind of narrow that dynamic range a little bit so that it's hovering a little bit closer to that 12.
Eventually.
Okay. So the limiter is just kind of a last finishing touch thing to kind of check your levels and make sure that you're falling within that range. And you can fine tune this a little teeny bit. It goes a far ways here, so hopefully don't rely on too much on that limiter. It should just be like the last little bit. Once you get it looking and sounding like you want, first, push Command S to save, and then you'll want to select the original dialog to set your bounds for your export. So see these little blue chips here. That's going to be how much it exports, right? If you want to go a little bit beyond that, like let's say you had like a reverb that was going to last out a little bit longer, or if you wanted it to just stay on the black screen at the end for a little bit longer as the sound like faded out or something like that, you can do that now. So you can actually adjust these bounds to be even bigger if you wanted. But in fact, I'm gonna go a little bit past mine. I'm gonna go there just so I make sure that if there's any reverb or anything going on, that it has a little bit of extra time to die down. So I selected that space, and then you're gonna go up to File and Export Audio Video. And this time, instead of exporting as an MP3, we're going to export it as a video. That's this bottom option here. So make sure that that one's turned on. Oh, of course it won't let me turn that on right now. How come? Might have my video settings there. Oh, I know why. It's because I'm doing a screen recording, so it's not going to let me do that while I'm doing a screen recording. That's just on my end. So you should be able to turn that on, and then the MPEG 4 video setting will be available there, and then you hit export, and then it really is just like exporting an MP3. It'll have you like name the file, and it will have you choose where to save it. And then you just need to attach that to Canvas just like you would if it's an MP3. I would recommend that you put the normalize on. That's just going to also be an extra precaution with your final volume for this assignment. And Gal, that should do it. Email me if you have any questions, and I will try and get back and answer them as quick as I can.